Good morning, you Mavericks. It's Francis, your Chief Curiosity Maverick, and I'm here with Catherine Wells, our Chief Inspiration Maverick, and we are your Mavericks of Senior Living.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Catherine Wells, your Chief Inspiration Maverick, and we are here with Jill Vitale-Aussem. First of all, your name is amazing.
Your name is awesome.
Awesome. Unbelievable. I love that. Jill is the CEO of the Eden Alternative, and she's an author of the book called Disrupting the Status Quo of Senior Living, A Mind Shift. And we will talk more about this in a podcast with Jill at a later time. But if you are in the industry or interested in the industry, this is an incredible book to read, and I encourage you to go check it out.
And we're going to put that link in our comment section below, so please check it out. It's a great book. You have to read it.
Yes, it will blow your mind,
Yes.
some of the stories that Jill shares in there. So welcome, Jill. We're really excited to have you.
Thank you. I am so excited to be with you, the Mavericks of Senior
That's
Living. So exciting.
Us.
I feel right at home with you.
Yes.
That's right. That is right. So tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you're doing, and then we'll talk about what the Eden Alternative is.
Sure, that sounds good. So I'm the CEO of the Eden Alternative now, and hopefully for a long time. But before that, I spent 20 years in the field running nursing homes and assisted living communities and continuing care retirement communities. And over that time, I had so many, and that's the title of the book, I had so many mind shifts where I realized all these things that I was doing was actually undermining the people in my community. And when I was introduced to the Eden Alternative 10 years ago and brought that to my community, that's where big mind shift.
So you actually learned about it 10 years ago and brought it into a community.
And implemented it in my own organization.
How was that? Was it difficult?
It's always difficult because you're doing a huge operational and cultural shift.
Interesting.
And people are afraid to change.
Yeah.
And it makes people very nervous. But people get on board, and a lot of people will say, "I always knew it should be this way," and now I know it can be. But it's still a long process.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the most rewarding journey you can ever go on.
Wow.
And making change at an organizational level is one of the hardest things you can do. I talk to any CEO of any corporation, and I come out of the corporate world, so I understand how even just a little bit of a change can really upend people.
Yes.
So we're curious to hear more about that. What would you like to challenge today?
Well, what I would really like to challenge is the way that we view the older people we're supporting in our communities. I think that's the main thing. That's why my book is called Mind Shift, because that has to happen first before we change anything else. And we keep trying to fix the institutional framework, right? The reason people say, shoot me if I ever have to go into a community, by building prettier buildings, by having better amenities and doing all those things. But the real work is much deeper, and it's the way that we view older people.
All right, so say more about that.
So, okay, so the way I always did things in my career is I looked at the community. I came from a hospitality education background, right? And I would always look at the people that lived in my community as customers, right? And it was all about customer service and doing for people and doing for people and doing for people.
So hospitality, just to back up a little bit for our audience, hospitality is the industry of like hotels and things like that, right? So that's the level of hospitality that you were wanting to provide.
And customer service, and that plays a role, right? But I realized that when it's everything, it undermines the very basic need that we have, that research shows that we need, which is purpose.
Yes.
I need to have a role to play in this community.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we're always doing things for people. People can start to maybe lose muscle strength, right? If they're not doing activities of daily living. So there's all this stuff that gets rolled into it.
So you're almost accelerating their need for help because they're getting help when they don't need it.
Yes.
Basically.
And here's the other thing. Society tells us when we get older, we have nothing to give back. right?
Ooh,
And we
that's-
are
that's-
drain. That's why we call it the silver tsunami. It's a disaster that will destroy
Right.
our country. That's and this model of doing for people actually is rooted in that. Do you see what I mean? And perpetuates it.
Huh.
That you come here, put your feet up, never have
Yeah.
to do anything ever
Yeah.
again, and
Interesting.
Yeah, we're
So-
going to do everything for you because we don't think you can do it anymore.
right.
But
And
could it also come from a place though that people feel like they've earned that right to not do
there
anything?
are some people
Yeah.
that don't want to do anything, but we assume everybody wants that.
Okay, so that's what it is. It's that general gross
Ah.
assumption.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And what it really comes down to is all of these places. My place, I called it a community, but I didn't know anything about building community, right? And there's a very
Ah.
Yeah.
specific science and art to community building where everybody has a role to play. People belong, right? And so you create, and everybody has a role to play in having it be a healthy, great place to live.
All
So
right.
everyone's a contributor.
Yes.
It's
In
a high
some
performing,
facet.
a
Mhm,
high
mhm.
performance team, and then your residents. We were just talking about how it's not sort of a one size fits all,
Right.
but it's also depending on the day. I can
Yes.
imagine some residents do want the resort feel one
Yes.
day, and the next day they say, "Darn it, I'm capable. I can help you with that."
Right. And people might be sick or they might be living with frailty, but everybody has the opportunity to give something back.
Yeah.
Everybody. People living with dementia, people living with frailty, there is an opportunity for everyone to help another person or be part of a community. In the Eden Alternative, we say the opportunity to give as well as receive.
So then
Yeah.
you're giving. They're purpose driven. Your days are not filled with
Yes.
mindless engagement.
Yes.
It's purpose driven engagement.
Exactly.
So that you feel accomplished, not just, oh, I painted something today. Why did I paint that? Well, because the activity person said to, right? It's
Right.
more of,
Right.
right? There's this purpose
Right.
at the end that you've accomplished something and you can feel, oh, I did something.
Right. And people working together to solve the community problems. So it's not all resting
love
on the executive director. It's, okay, we've got a situation that we need to address. How do we come together and work on this? And this community concept works beautifully with team members too. And that's one of the big challenges we have right now is attracting
buy-in,
and
yeah.
keeping people, right? And so if we practice this community building with team members as well, it has a huge impact.
So then obviously we hear the passion. What is the Eden Alternative and how does that help solve this culture building?
So the Eden Alternative, we were founded by Dr. Bill Thomas, and he's probably the most famous disruptor in this field that there is.
He's way up there.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he's still disrupting.
Yes.
He always will be.
Good.
And so we have been in existence for 25 years.
Okay.
We are a not-for-profit.
Okay.
And last year we were in 16 countries around the world,
Whoa.
which is pretty cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
And it also says in all these different countries, they need the Eden Alternative
Right.
to undo
A lot.
a lot,
Yeah.
right? This whole institutional framework.
Okay.
And it's a worldwide problem.
It is. It absolutely is. And so what we're really based on is that when people need care, move into I'm going to say the F word, facility. Scared you for a minute. But in a facility, an institutional model of care,
Okay.
they are lonely, they
Right.
are helpless, they are bored.
Yes.
And if you've gone in a nursing home and you've seen people slumped over in their chairs, it's not their medical condition that caused that or their age, it's the environment they're
Correct.
living in, right?
Yes.
And so that's our whole goal is to eliminate that. And so to do that, we work with individuals and organizations. We do education, we do consulting work, and we help organizations maneuver that challenging shift that has to happen in order to create a new reality.
When you say you work with individuals, do you mean the older adult or the team members individually?
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
That's when this is the most successful is when, well, first leadership has to be engaged and
Yes.
has to make it sustainable.
Yep.
But every single person needs to have a personal transformation in the way they view older people and people living with different abilities.
Yeah.
And that has to happen.
So the Eden Alternative is a philosophy and a service organization, correct?
Yes, we are an education and consulting organization.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do you work with the communities?
So we do a lot of training opportunities. We do a lot of grant work. for nursing homes.
Oh,
We get
okay.
grant funding.
Just
Did you work
for
in
nursing homes?
It's
not
because
assisted
it's
living?
CMS funding, so
Okay.
that only works in nursing homes.
Okay.
But we also get some foundation grants to do some education sometimes too. So we train people and we do consulting work. We'll go in and work with an organization from start to when we can say, okay, set you free, and you can you're ready to drive sustainable change.
Okay.
So we work with a lot of different types home care agencies because people are institutionalized in their home as well.
For sure.
They
And
are.
they're isolated
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They
I mean,
sure
that's
are.
one of the biggest
Yeah.
issues that I see is that even when you move into an independent living, the odds of you voluntarily, a lot of times that adult or older adult leaving their room is low.
Yes.
So even though
Yes.
they're living with 200
On their
people,
own. Yeah.
you think that they're going to have this engagement and they
Yeah.
never leave their door.
Right.
So
Right.
did we create more isolation or less?
Right.
Right.
And
Yep.
because my grandmother, I use my grandmother a lot, and she's 92. That is the biggest challenge for her. Is she was living across the street from my parents for a long while. Recently moved in about a month ago to an independent living, and I think last night was the first night that I know of that she really went out
Yeah.
to a social event by herself.
Yeah.
The rest of it, my mom had to be there. Someone had to be
Yeah.
like, "Come on!"
So in communities that are really practicing community building,
Yep.
people belong, and there are systems, and not management imposed
No,
systems
of course,
like
of course.
an ambassador committee, which can be great, but it's the people there own this. Like my parents live in a community like
Okay.
that where somebody new moves in and everybody's like, okay, how do we make this person feel comfortable?
That's really
how do we?
cool.
But
Okay.
it comes from community building and having the people that live there create new norms.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
And
that.
so
you're
that's
not,
what it's really all about.
and you're not just relying on that overbodying a
Yeah.
director, whatever,
Right.
a coordinator, whoever it is. It's relying on an uprise from
Yeah.
basically the grassroots.
The power is with the people.
Always.
I mean, we think, oh,
Always.
I'm the executive director. I have to do everything and fix everything with my team. And there is unbelievable, untapped
Okay.
resources
Yes.
in our communities.
Yes.
So.
And to give someone the ability to contribute. And I love the story that you have in the early part of your book where you actually experienced this yourself at a hotel in Cabo.
Yes.
And we'll just let that be so people go buy the book and check it out.
Yeah.
But to feel helpless and in a way that you can't contribute, when you then join a community where it's from the ground up, it's just part of the DNA that everybody works together and that you're part of this. You're expected to help at breakfast or whatever it is, whatever they've signed up to.
And it looks different for
participate.
everybody,
Right.
right?
Because this model, and I just want for the viewers to know, will work at any level of ability, right? Whether it's
Absolutely.
super young to super old and might have some cognitive issues. I just want to make that correct. I mean, I want to make it very clear.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want this to be like, oh, well, you can only do this if they're active. No, it can.
So I could share a story with you if
Yeah.
that would help.
That'd be
So I was in Australia a few weeks ago and visited an Eden Alternative home in Australia. And it was one of those small home household models. Individuals living with dementia, right? And it had the open kitchen, and I went in there, and I was talking to the team member, and I expected her to say that the residents help prep food, right? They cut vegetables, they bake cookies once a week or something, and I asked her, I said, oh, do the residents help cook? And she looked at me like, what is wrong with you? Of course, they participate in cooking. I couldn't do this all on my own. When it's time to get dinner ready, everybody knows we have to work together to get dinner ready.
So you're setting that philosophy.
Yes,
Okay.
and the folks there, they do if they want to, do their own laundry. They use a real live iron and iron their clothes. Right? It's a shocker. And then some of the guys mow the lawn with a real lawnmower, and some of the other guys use power tools to fix stuff in the community that needs fixing. Their motto there, and it's called Anam Cara. It's part of Wesley Mission in.
It's called. Say that again.
Anam Cara.
Okay.
Wesley Mission in Queensland, Australia. Their motto is "Life as it should be." Right? And these are people who, if they lived in an institution, you'd be like, these people can't do anything. They have dementia.
Oh, but isn't that
It's the limiting beliefs that we have.
But isn't that the stigma? I mean, I don't want to get too far off topic, but I feel like that's the stigma around it. The minute you have undiagnosed, diagnosed memory issues, whether you want to call it dementia or not, it's like, oh, well, your life is over.
Yes.
You have to sit at home now.
Right.
We don't trust you.
We don't trust you to use the iron, to use
No,
the
we don't
door,
trust
you to
to-
be
at
we're
home by
afraid.
yourself.
Right.
Or we don't trust you to do anything.
Yeah,
Unless someone's telling you, okay, it's okay to do that now.
yeah.
Well, we take away the right for people to do a lot of things.
Very quickly, though.
Yes, very quickly.
So we actually create a mind shift for them where
Yes.
they walk in feeling capable, and we create a mind
Perhaps,
shift
yes.
that
But
maybe I'm not as capable, maybe I can't do that, maybe I can't be trusted.
but they can be in the right environment, in the right
No, I
encouragement.
agree.
I mean,
I agree.
there's
And
always
everybody's abilities are different,
Right.
right? And,
And every
some
day they're
people
different.
might not. It might not be good. Like me, if I was living with dementia and you gave me an iron, I'd burn myself because I don't iron. Right? But somebody who's been doing it their whole
What
life.
is this, a curling iron?
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's what I
that's my husband's job.
so do they. But again, that's the idea, though, that it's getting more creative.
Yes.
It's empowering them
Mhm.
for wherever they are throughout their aging process, getting creative and giving them
Yes,
tools and
yes.
resources to be successful. Because I feel like right now our first instinct is to take things away,
Yep.
medicate them because we don't know. Our medical
get me
society
on that.
hasn't figured
Yeah.
out how to live with a long-term disease that isn't curable, and giving them hope.
Yes.
So like, you're gonna be okay. It's
Right.
gonna be a different okay, but you're still gonna be okay.
Right.
We talked about this last night a little bit. So Francis hosted a dementia-friendly restaurant outing in
Okay.
Castle Rock
Oh,
last night.
Awesome.
First one I've ever heard of.
It was called Dementia Friendly Night at the restaurant, and the idea was, come with your spouse, have dinner, and socialize, and it actually worked. People
that's so
weren't
great.
worried about, well, if one of my wife does something weird. No,
Yeah.
everybody here is in the same space.
Yeah. So nobody
So-
cares if your wife grabs the food and eats
Right.
it and doesn't
Or
use
you
a
need help
spoon.
to coach
No
on how
one's
to use the
looking at
fork.
you.
Right.
It's the idea of, you're okay to get out in public, even
Yeah.
if you have this diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do we
Yeah.
expand that even further
That's
so we
right.
stop segregating people
Right.
living with dementia, right?
Correct.
But
Exactly.
that's great.
It was really neat, and I was talking with a couple there about their transition. So they moved from a large acreage to a smaller home, an apartment maybe, and not in assisted living, and they are struggling with that transition. So going from their big place to now they have rules, now they have HOA, whatever, and not sure what to do with her husband. Can I just drop him off
Right.
at the rec center?
Right.
Mhm.
No, that's probably not the best idea.
Mhm.
But can we talk about what that transition might look like? And I
Mhm.
think that's part of what you're offering with the Eden Alternative, right? Is help with that transition, because it's a transition in life like anything.
Right.
Moving
Absolutely.
is a major transition in life. We know all of the other things that cause major stress in life, and it takes a good 6 months.
Yes.
So how do we give ourselves a break and teach the caregiver, the family caregiver, during that time?
And obviously what we want to talk about with all this positive energy here is, how do we keep pushing these envelopes, right, and become more, obviously swell it up, right? So how has this Eden philosophy began to disrupt? What is it doing? Or what are you seeing it's doing? I should
What's
say.
happening in the
So
industry?
we see, well, there's been a shift, right? Because before, the institutional model was like, that's fine.
Right.
And
Yeah,
because
it's
of that
okay.
disruption of the Eden Alternative, and also, Pioneer Network and some of these other leaders that were working on this, decades ago,
Mhm.
it's starting to become, okay, are you practicing person-directed care?
Right. Okay.
Right. And so that's becoming more mainstream. I will say, I don't think in nursing homes, right, the majority are still practicing pretty institutional models of care.
Are they?
But you
Yeah.
have to make a difference where you can make a difference.
Okay.
Right. And so I see we've got a couple hundred communities in the U.S. and Canada
Awesome.
that have committed to driving this change. Another 150 outside
That's
of the U.S.
awesome.
and Canada.
That's
I mean,
fantastic.
it needs to be a lot more.
Of course, but hey,
right?
you got to start somewhere.
You
right?
have-
And
Yeah.
we're doing training all the time in homes that aren't part of our registry.
Ah.
And so every time somebody goes to a training, there's a ripple effect.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll say I'm very proud of what we've done, but we have a lot more to do. And all of us, it's not just the Eden Alternative, it's all of us working together to make that happen.
Yeah.
It's being okay to make changes. It's not being. I feel like in senior living and a lot of things, we're complacent with how it's been because that's how we've always done it,
Mhm.
and that's why when we found your book, we were like, oh my gosh, this disrupting the status quo of senior living. I
Yep.
mean,
Which is what
It's
you're
what
all
we're
about.
all
This is all
about.
about.
It's
And-
absolutely what we're all about,
and-
making a huge transformation in the industry.
and
And it doesn't happen overnight.
and
No.
it doesn't. But I think what I love about what we're talking about is it's not looking at aging as this burden, because it's
Uh-huh.
not a silver tsunami. If you heard our ageism talk last week, we're labeling
Yep.
Yes.
a group
Stop
for the wrong
using
reason.
that word.
And
Yep.
it's time to go away from that. No, we're aging. Let's age how we want to age, and we want to create hope. And that's what everything I hear from you is positive. It's upbeat. It's playful, right? It's not like, oh
Yeah.
boy.
Oh
There's
no,
joy
I'm
in
You know?
there.
hopeful, optimistic,
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. And how do we spark joy for
Yes.
the people that are part of our communities?
And how? So I would, kind of almost leave with this is how are you creating hope? Like, how can we continue to create more hope?
I think it's sharing the stories of success.
Okay.
And part of this whole thing is you're never done.
Right.
Right. And so and what we always encourage organizations to do and society, right, is
Mhm.
celebrate what you have gotten done.
Okay.
Celebrate the sparks of light, right? Where,
Right.
oh my gosh, you won't believe what this community is doing. But it's part of pushing it forward is joyous too. To me, it's like, okay, let's have a new challenge and let's move ahead.
Yep.
I find great energy in that and joy. If somebody said, oh, you're all done, but then we don't need to be here anymore, right? And that'd be
Right.
great someday if we don't need
These
this.
discussions,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But I'm
Yep.
excited about this work, and I know a lot of other people are too.
Yeah. So you have a conference coming up.
Yes, we
Tell us
do.
about that.
So, this conference, talk about disruptors.
Okay.
Woo, and Mavericks.
Bring it. All
So
right.
it's our international conference. So it is April 28th through the 30th in Denver, Colorado. Woohoo.
That's right.
And, we have got, and if you go to our Eden Alternative website, www.edenalt.org, you can get all the information on the conference. Early registration is open right now. And we're going to have people from all over the world
That's cool.
that are working to drive change and sharing ideas.
That's awesome.
And on your website, you have a little video of some of the keynote
Yes.
speakers and the major disruptors in this industry that will be there.
And
Yes,
you're gonna have
so,
to.
and you'll be there.
And
I
we'll be
know.
there.
I know.
We will
We'll
be
be
there.
there.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent.
I'm
Yes.
hoping it's like a 70-degree day, not a snowy day.
Well, that's the challenge of Denver.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it is what it is.
So hoping it's one
Yeah.
of those days.
Jill, we could talk for hours with you, but it has been
Likewise.
a pleasure to talk with you. And we will have you back on our podcast,
And
and
we're
we
gonna
will
dive
talk.
deep into your book
Yes.
here.
All right,
So that
perfect.
we really begin to inspire. Because I think
Yeah.
what I love about what you're doing is you're inspiring people to be a disruptor.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need more of. So anybody watching, don't be afraid to take that challenge. Take that leap and challenge and disrupt whatever it is. Even if you're not in senior living, just disrupt, because you don't understand the positive items and actions that can come from that.
And I will say to family members, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask
Yes.
questions and talk with the executive director and the caregivers and the wellness director, and really get involved, because your ideas can make a difference for them too.
And feel free to leave any comments or questions you want us to ask Jill on the podcast. Leave them in there, and also share your stories about disrupting anything, big or small, and then we can celebrate it together as we continue to move forward in challenging the way we age.
Thank for joining us today.
And
Thank you,
thank
Jill.
you, Jill,
Thank you so much.
So make sure you check out her book and also Eden Alternative's website. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.